What's up, riders? Today, we are going to continue with those claims we started last time, but today we want to make sure that we know how to collect and sort the evidence in an easy way that will support the reasons we're starting to think about. Let's check it out. We want to make sure that our claim has some sort of similar structure or familiar structure to some claims we've seen in the past. So right now on our screen, we can see that there are a bunch of claims right here that we could use to sort of fit what we're thinking about our character into. Remember, at this point, it's still okay to revise our claim. Well, last time we went through a kind of 3 or 4 step process of making our claim. It doesn't mean it's perfect. So again, if you haven't done that, if you haven't went through that process, stop. You need to go back and do that. So today, we were talking about that set of claims to compare your claim to. The first claim you should totally recognize from lesson 1 essay bootcamp with the 3 little pigs. It goes like this. A character is a trait, a character trait, like the third little pig is admirable, because reason A, reason B, and most of all, reason C. And probably those reasons were almost character traits in and of themselves. He was admirable, but he's admirable, we said, because he was brave, tough, and smart. And then, after we decided on that, that was our structure. And then we could add that evidence in based upon where we thought it went. So that's where we're going today. However, here are some other possibilities. A character is this certain way when they're with person A and person B. Or a character is this way in this situation and that situation. I could imagine if you were working with a short story popularity that our main character in there could be considered to act one way in different situations. Although I think that there's a lot to work with in that story too. A next claim possibility is a character is this way and that way as a role. So the way that I could see that fitting is that if we were talking about James from your move, we could say that James is responsible and irresponsible as an older brother that's supposed to be looked up to. Just one thought. Another one that I think is a little bit easy, however, it's possible that you could do this. A character is this way at the start, the middle, and the end of the story. It's not my favorite, but if you're really struggling to make it work, at least then we know what evidence can go where. Obviously, evidence from the start of the story would go in one spot, then the middle, and then the end. We would just need to figure out what way they are. So for Squeaky, probably it's protective or tough. I encourage you to make your own claim and just look at these structures. It doesn't mean you have to use them. You don't have to change your claim to fit it to this. This is if you're really struggling to figure out how best to do your claim. These are some options you might consider. Now's the time that we're going to take our claim that we had last time about Squeaky, which was that Squeaky is fiercely protective of her brother Raymond and herself. And we're going to see if we can't fit that into a typical structure, no different than what we did with the 3 Little Pigs story. I almost said 5 little pigs. There's definitely not 5. 3 little pigs. This is a basic structure that I just use with my own class and with you so that you can easily sort that evidence. So you can see in this first paragraph, we're just putting our claim or thesis statement in there. So in our case, it's just going to say Squeaky is fiercely protective of her brother and herself. Then down below, for reason 1, I'm just going to restate that Squeaky is fiercely protective of her brother. And then I've got 2 spots for evidence because we should be able to find at least 2 pieces of evidence for that. Again, we'll go down to the next box and you can see it says reason 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that second part of my thesis in there, that Squeaky is fiercely protective of herself. And then I can put evidence 1 and 2 in there. My suggestion is try to put as many pieces of evidence as you can, because we really want to end up ranking it and deciding what piece of evidences are best. Just because, as you're going to find out here in a second, just because I find a piece of evidence that Squeaky's protecting in doesn't mean it's the best. Okay, now if I had come up with another reason to go along with her being fiercely protective, or another way in which she's fiercely protective, I could move on and I could do another paragraph after that. But right now, this is what I have for my claim, and it's good enough. At the bottom, we just again have our really basic structure where we restate our thesis or claim. So it'll just say, Squeaky is fiercely protective of her brother and herself. In addition to using that graphic organizer in that way, you should really try your best to add as much evidence into this as you can, and then use 1, 2, 3, 4 on the side to rank it. Ranking evidence is so important. We don't want to start with our best one and then gradually get worse. We want to leave their last thought having to do with that reason to be the strongest one. Now, we're collecting this evidence, and we've already done some of that, but how can we do it in a way that's fast, doesn't really force you to reread your whole story, and most important of all, it allows you to get quickly through the whole thing, because that's what we need. We need to find evidence from the whole thing or story, because our claims have to be about the whole story, the whole character. They can't just be from the beginning. And I know that's the easiest thing, is go from the beginning until you find enough. So I'm going to start now in the beginning of Raymond's run, and I'm going to skim looking for things that would be protective. So, as I look, I'm kind of seeing that the first thing might be all I have to do is mind my brother Raymond. So, I don't know that I'd say that's really evidence, but we do know that she has to do that. And so we could write it down. It doesn't hurt to have too much evidence. When we rank it later, it'll be fine. Okay, we're continuing. Okay, older brother. He needs looking after, we see. My eyes are just kind of popping around. Big head, yep. Okay, so right after the big head, it says they have to come by me. So again, I could add that. Now we've got 3 pieces. I still don't think they're the strongest, but we do know that they are instances where she's saying that she would protect her brother. Now, as I continue down, I know that in this paragraph here that she talks a lot about having to protect her brother. We don't see a lot of specific instances, so that's kind of what we can expect to get out of this for now. Okay, so towards the bottom, she says that she'd rather just knock you down. I can add that as well. I'm not caring if she's fast. I'm not caring about all the other things. That's it. So I'm moving on to the next paragraph. She's talking about fast. Again, we don't really care. And we know that that's pretty much it. That whole one was about her being fast. Okay, so the next one, I remember and see Raymond walking. So far, every time I've noticed that she's talking about protection, it has to do with Raymond. So I'm definitely going to want to key in on his name. So she keeps him on the inside. I can add that. I'd keep going. That's really how I would skim through my story, not reading it all. As far as the tips on what you do for skimming, look for keywords as you go. Make sure you're not distracted by parts of the text that you remember don't have anything to do with the claim or thesis about your character. In this case, fiercely protective. I knew that one part was about her being fast. Don't care. I kept on going, and as I was going, I noticed and paid attention to, I was finding parts where Raymond's name was mentioned. So I already was looking for keywords, I skipped parts that I knew weren't going to help me. And since I do remember some parts that would, once I got there, I realized, oh, Raymond has a lot to do with protection. Now, obviously, that might lead me to just find things that are protective of Raymond, but eventually I'd probably find some things too that were protective of her. So we really dove into a lot of stuff today having to do with evidence. If you do those things, you're going to have, in some ways, an almost like basic essay written about your character. It's going to feel very similar to your Three Little Pigs boot camp essay. So until I see you next time, happy writing.